About 5 years ago, my wife and I created a small casual game for mobile devices. Of course, what was easy to predict, since we didn't launch any marketing campaign, no one ever heard about this project. But that's okay, I'm still making games because I just like doing it. For a couple of years, I have been collecting ideas for a game I would love to play. And this year, I decided to start a new project and make a solid prototype which I will able to show people. I have always liked games in which you have to carefully manage resources preparing for the world's days. That's why my favorite games are RimWorld and Project Zomboid. In RimWorld, the resource aspect is excellent mixed with the economics aspect. Not only we can collect materials for the winter, but in addition we can trade the excess. And I like very much the fact that you can trade almost anything in this game. You can build your empire selling potatoes, for example. Zomboid, on the other hand, brilliantly combined resource management with survival. Because we have to perform a lot of actions manually, the game builds immersion. Tasks such as rearranging things in the backpack, turning on the lights in the car or adjusting the temperature of the oven makes us feel the game more. At least that's what I feel. So, what my game will be about? It will be third-person economic resources management crafting game, where a player will have to chop down trees, collect them, turn into timber and sell on the local market. Of course, there will be a lot of things and mechanics and systems which will make game more interesting, but I will tell you more about it later. For now, I'm creating new Unity project. To begin with, I just want to make a simple scene in which you can explore the map. For this purpose I will need a terrain, a few models of trees and bushes, some model of a house, a bit of various objects with which the player will interact, and an animated character. So, I start collecting 3 assets and try to put something together, but I quickly see that looking for individual assets is not an easy task. It takes a lot of time to find a right model or texture, and in addition I think that everything looks like you know what. I decide then to spend the whole day finding a pack of assets that fits the style of the game. I wanted it to be texture low poly models, and fortunately for the less than €50, I managed to find a pack of models that fits perfectly in the style I was thinking about. So I start over again, this time opening a ready demo scene on which I can start working. First I set up a character model and I'm adding some basic animations to it. I don't spend much time on it because the animations will come later. Next I create the main control. Here I have a bit of software dilemma. Because most projects on Unity use controllers attached to a specific game object, which makes it necessary to fill in any dependencies manually in the editor. It's basically okay, but as the project grows, it's hard to grasp with your mind what should be connected to what. Therefore, for the first time, I would like to try a different approach, where controllers will be ordinary C# classes, to which I will pass dependencies in the constructor. So in the other words, technically speaking, I will be using dependency injection architecture. Honestly, I have no idea if it is a good solution, but I saw something like that in the other projects made on custom engine, so I decided it's worth a try. With that in mind, I'm writing player manager and I create an instance of it in the main game class. I am passing the class responsible for capturing player input and an instance of the object I want to control. After running the first tests, it turns out that instead of a normal forest worker, I have a Superman. Okay. Of course, I forgot to set the loop variable in the animation. After this change, everything's worked properly now and I am making a simple camera controller. Here too, I decide to write something on my own. Yes, I know that I could use the Cinemachine, but in my opinion, it would take a sledgehammer to crack a nut. For my needs, a simple script for less than 100 lines is enough, no comparison with a huge combo like Cinemachine. At the game scene, I create camera on stick. That means that the first object is the stick and the second object is the camera, which is on the end of the stick. Now I can rotate the camera around the following object just by rotating only the so-called stick. I have a simple view that tracks the player position, allowing zoom and rotating the camera. I start exploring the new world and I quickly see the next problem. When I'm going under the roof, I can't see the character. To solve this problem, I decided on a simple solution, that is, hiding the roof components when the player comes close enough. I created a new component, Hideable Roof, whose task is to disable child objects. I assign component to a group of objects and check if the parent object has a box collider assigned. A quick test and it works, but I still can't get into the building. How I will open the door? The easiest way would be to rotate them around the axis of the hinges. Fortunately, the author of the models have thought about it and placed the pivot of the door in the axis of the hinge. So I create another simple component, which has methods open and close responsible for rotation. After playing the game, it turns out that the door open script needs some tweaking, but it's okay. Unfortunately, it appears that my hero is a little too fat, so I send him on a quick diet and I finally visit the room. Great, now I can start creating some more advanced systems. Next, I will want to create architecture of game items and inventory management. But about that, I will tell you in the next devlog. This one was more like saying hi than actually some meaning and rich content. And by the way, that leads us to the next part. Introduction. It's not interesting, you can stop watching now. Hi, I'm Victor and I am a full-stack developer at day and hobby game dev at night. I'm from Poland, so if you do not understand what I'm saying, I'm sorry. I'm not native speaker. I'm doing my best and I hope my language skills will be better and better with each next devlog. That's my first video on YouTube ever, and honestly, talking to a broader audience is making me nervous and uncomfortable. So why I am doing it? Mostly because I am learning from my mistakes. Remember when I told you that I created a mobile game a few years ago? I know that it was a failure because I didn't share it with people. Let's be honest, I mean game developers, are creating content to enjoy the people. We are creating for the people and we have to tell them about it. Of course, if you have a lot of money, you can hire a marketing company which will make you some ads, but that's not the point. I like that indie games are very often made with community. Thanks to early access, for example, players can give their suggestions at the very early stage of development. And that's what I want to achieve with my current project. Okay, that's all for today. Hope you like my first video. So have a nice day and I see you in the next devlog.